might not have noticed, but the traditional physical book publishing industry died very recently. It was like within the past few days. The entire industry is dead. It's gone. And as for the man who killed it, let's go, Brandon. 4 novels by Brandon Sanderson on Kickstarter. Already the biggest Kickstarter ever. What message do you think traditional publishers are going to take from this, huh? I still think traditional publishers might have a place in getting someone up to Sanderson's level. But just like how actual good comic creators are just using Marvel and DC as springboards to better things, actually talented novelists like Brandon Sanderson, they're going to be using like traditional publishers as a jumping off point. Yeah, and I still see the value of traditional publishers for people who are just up and coming, just getting started. Sanderson has the advantage of name recognition. Most people, like pretty much everyone who reads fantasy novels knows who he is. If you don't read fantasy novels, you might not know him. You guys paying attention? For whatever reason, Western creators seem to avoid fantasy and sci-fi stories, and Brandon Sanderson, almost exclusively a fantasy author, set the Kickstarter record for the biggest fucking campaign, man. You guys taking notes yet? Most people first found out who he is when, because he's actually the guy who finished Wheel of Time. And that, as big as Wheel of Time was, he actually did a decent job of finishing it. So that got him. So all the Robert Jordan fans pretty much stuck with Brandon Sanderson. Things have been going very fucking well for him since then. Now, this just shows you when you're given an opportunity like that, just put yourself in his position. Wheel of Time was a very popular series as it was coming out. People loved that shit. And then, unfortunately, Robert Jordan died before he could finish it. And Brandon Sanderson was the guy that was picked to wrap up the series. Fortunately, this wasn't current year. Because and plus Sanderson, he's not an idiot. He saw, he himself was a fan, so he wanted to do the Wheel of Time justice. And he also knew this was his big chance. This was his big break. If he does this right, this is going to catapult him to the top of fantasy authors. And he stuck the landing. And look at what that got him. If this is what a single author can do, imagine how much money Disney could have made if they did Star Wars right. Imagine how much money Amazon could have made if they did Wheel of Time right, if they did Lord of the Rings right. But now, they'd rather push their agenda. What position do you think Brandon Sanderson would be in right now if he was given the finale of Wheel of Time? And what he did with it was completely destroy the franchise by just shoving it full of his political ideology and propaganda. If he made Wheel of Time for a modern audience, do you think he'd be here making tens of millions of dollars today if that's what he did with Wheel of Time? Or do you think he'd be on GoFundMe asking for $5,000 because bills are coming due? What do you think? Of course, this is a lesson the mainstream is going to forget. They know better.